Good evening, everybody, and welcome to The Way It Is Naturally. I'm your host, Perry Larrabee. This is my show, and we broadcast every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Tonight happens to be one of my favorite shows, probably my second favorite, as after doing spotlight shows with individuals, I love doing the Q&As. Q&As generally bring up some great questions, some repetitive questions, but we try to limit those, but we do bring them up occasionally because I do know for many beginners, those are the questions they really want to have the answers to. Anyways, we're going to get right back into topic and questions in a moment. And welcome back. I hope everybody is doing good today. Hope everybody is still healthy and able to train, hopefully at their favorite gyms, that they're still going strong. Let's cross our fingers, that they don't close down again. Anyways, we are going to get into a Q&A session here. Quick update, starting to actually manufacture and bring in equipment here, so that's a good thing. Hopefully maybe in a month and a half, should be able to start broadcasting throughout the gym area itself and be doing some demos in the area as we broadcast, which would be just wonderful. Also, my own training, I'm kind of honing in right now, just getting myself in really good condition before I start my 7th month out prep for my show, which will be May 29th. I'll be just a couple months short of 61 years old, and I'm planning to go into probably a couple of categories there, the open, and as well as maybe one of the more mature categories. Everybody's just going to wait and see how things move along. Currently, I'm sitting at a body weight of approximately 206 pounds at 5'9", and I won't even guess at body fat levels, but they're in really good condition right now. So I don't particularly put too much stock in the scales or into body fat measurements, since neither one of them are terribly accurate. The mirror, that's the only thing I always tell people, use the mirror. That'll tell you everything that you need to know. Anyways, we're going to get into some questions right off the bat. Okay, we're going to start. Let's just go here to number one. I'll let you know that many people, I'm so thankful that they are sending in these questions. I do glean a few questions from some of the Facebook groups that I'm a member in. And for anybody in there, if you see me in there, I answer a lot of people's questions. I do that for free. I don't ask for anything for my services at all. I basically, push my services here on the show, or you can visit my my website, bullfitterstraining.com. Contact me on my Facebook page as well. But I don't mind answering some general questions with people and help them along, especially the beginners, those people that really feel, they need the help. They're kind of, I kind of remember what it's like to walk into the gym for the first time and not really know what to do. And so many people these days, I find, they're a little bit more hesitant. For some reason, people are really afraid to make mistakes, which is good in a way, but you're going to make mistakes along the way. Even with a trainer, you're going to make some mistakes. Nothing wrong with that. Those are great learning tools. Mistakes are the greatest learning tool you will ever acquire, okay? Let's get into the questions here. I got a whole slew. I definitely won't get through them all today, which is good. Keep those questions coming in. You can send those questions to me on Facebook. You can send them to me on my website. You can obviously post them in the comments section here on my YouTube channel. I'd love for you to do that. Anyways, first question. You mentioned the cornerstones of bodybuilding, and it's the title of your upcoming book. Can you please explain what they are? Okay, I talk about the 3 cornerstones of bodybuilding and the proportionate value of each one, and how they all 3 have to be in place in order for you to make maximal gains. And that requires good training, on good principles, good nutrition, And what I put at the top of the pyramid of all three, the psychological factor. Psychological factor is stronger than either one of those. The next one up would be nutrition. Nutrition, I kind of combine nutrition with recuperation. So we could almost call 4 values here. But nutrition and recuperation kind of tied one in one. Training is actually at the bottom of the ladder. Not to mean that is not significant, because if you don't create a need, right, you don't get growth. But you can create that need and get no growth because you don't have those other values working for you. But the most important one, mark this down. The most important one is the mental aspect. And what do I mean by that? I mean, mentally prepared to go in there and do your best every time, okay? If you can't not go in there mentally and do your best, it may be your body telling you a sign, giving you a sign that you need a day's rest, okay? Don't confuse that with, the days kind of got you in a quandary, a lot of crap happened, or you're, I hate to say it, just feeling lazy that day, okay? Because if you go in on days like that, chances are you're going to have a subpar workout. You could even possibly injure yourself. I don't want you to make a habit of it. You're almost better taking the day off, okay? Also, great focus, creating mind to muscle connection. If you don't have that, you're not going to maximize your gains. You have to do that, okay? And that is something that is harder to explain, but it's one of those things where, when people say you'll know it when you see it, or you'll know it when you feel it. If you don't feel it yet, it's because you're not there. You might be training at 70% or 80%. That's the other thing I bring up to people. You'll never be able to train at 100% because we do not have the ability to tap into our brain function 100%. If we did, we could all reach unbelievable heights in our physical training, because that is the actual limiting factor. Genetics, yes, to some degree, but bar none, it is the mental aspect. If you can uncork another, 40, 50%, people, they talk about, they actually say, in psychology documents, in testing, they say that, we may only be using 5 or 10% of our actually brain capacity. So you think about that. On those days when you're dialed in, and for those athletes out there that understand what I mean by dialed in, if you're dialed in, you know it. And if you imagine if you are now like 20 times dialed in like that, your gains would be astronomical, providing you do all the other factors as well. So that's what I mean by, that's a basic rundown of what the cornerstones are. I go into a lot more detail in the book. But anyways, that's a good start, okay? Second question. I hear so many people say that bodybuilding is a very selfish sport and that you have to give up so much to succeed. What do you say? Well, I'm going to tell you, I don't believe bodybuilding is naturally a selfish sport at all. It's the people are around it. Some of the people around it tend to be just selfish individuals. But with that said, those people that train naturally and those people that train performance enhanced are two different animals. When you start using drugs, your mental, what's the word I'm looking for here? Your mental approach changes completely. You can become either very aggressive, and not in good ways. I don't mean the gym, very aggressive, or you can become very withdrawn. There's many things that the drugs will do to you. Whereas if you're a natural athlete, you're just relying on your normal mental ability to get you there, okay? Now, I don't know what people call selfish. So if selfish is, making sure that you get to the gym to do your workouts, or selfish means, not eating everything you want when you want it, or, that's what you call dedication, okay? When I think of selfish, I think of somebody that, who doesn't, who basically, doesn't go out of his way for anybody else, or, they exclude themselves from family and social gatherings. Why do you have to do any of that? I've been doing this for 4+ decades. Even on competitive years, I still went out. I mean, let me get this straight though. I mean, if you need to go out and party till 2 o'clock in the morning every time you go out, well, maybe your priorities are wrong, and therefore you shouldn't be pursuing bodybuilding, especially not as a sport. I mean, competitively, maybe just, as a genuine way to exercise, that's fine. But if you want to maximize your gains, you have to keep everything in moderation. Train your hardest, keep everything else in moderation. That means, go out to dinner. Why can't you go out to dinner? I went out to dinner even getting ready for shows. But, I didn't go out to dinner 4 or 5 times a week. But who does that in their normal life anyways? If you're doing that, I'm wondering, why aren't you ever home? Are you not comfortable at home? You're not happy with who you're with? Or there's so many other questions there that I think are probably more pertinent than what the sport is doing to you. Okay? So, no, it doesn't have to be selfish. It can be a very social sport, as a matter of fact. It's a wonderful thing when it's kept in perspective. And perspective means, going out there, training natural, being focused, appreciating those gains when you make them, and knowing how you got them. You got them by training hard, eating right, and basically having a balanced lifestyle. You do those things, it is not selfish, and people around you will not think you're selfish. That's all I'm going to say on that matter. Okay? Let's go down to third question here. Let's see, what do we have here? Okay, we have, should I weigh myself daily when trying to achieve a goal weight? If not, how often, or should I at all? Okay, I'm going to start off by saying the weigh scales are completely irrelevant, because all they're basically doing is giving you an actual weight. They're not talking to you about lean body mass. They're not telling you how that body's shaped. They're not telling you anything about your level of fitness. So there's two things wrong with what this person is asking. First of all, they're assuming that a certain weight is what you need to achieve. Nobody needs to achieve a certain weight. Unless you're trying to make a weight class in something, weight is irrelevant. It's how you look. It's how you feel. And that means, how good you feel, how strong you feel. If you're not feeling the way you want, or you're not looking the way you want, what does it matter what that scale says? I understand when people want to use the scale properly. And using it properly to me means using it as a mere tool. Okay? And a very minor tool. I don't believe in weighing yourself. Here's the problem. People tend to sometimes get so preoccupied with that scale, they literally weigh themselves every day, sometimes twice a day. The problem with that is it can be very frustrating, because you may be actually making gains, but your body weight is going in the wrong direction according to what you want. And it does that for a lot of reasons. Water balance for one, ladies can, definitely have other issues that men don't have. Hormone balance can affect that. Okay? Gaining lean muscle mass while losing body fat at the same time. Depending on which end of the scale was larger, you maybe go up a bit or you go down a bit. So, if you have to weigh yourself and you have a target in mind, keep that target as just a vague outline. Just in case you actually get to a point where you like what you see, but you're still 10 pounds or 15 pounds off from your target. Is somebody going to come up to you? If you're a woman, you're looking great in this, this black dress, and they can say, "Gee, how much do you weigh?" No, you don't. They say that. They say, "Hey, you look great." And for men, or you're looking big, or you're looking in good shape. They don't ask you how much you weigh. The only people that ask you how much you weigh are insecure individuals themselves. Don't become like that. That's not a good thing. You want to have yourself at a point where you're just comfortable with yourself. You're making good gains in the gym. You're feeling stronger. That's what's most important. If you weigh yourself too often, that is going to influence yourself mentally, and not in a good way. So you're better off to do it every once in a while. To me, probably the maximum is like once a week. Unless you are trying to make a weight class and you're zeroing in, and keep in mind, like, let's say you're fearing that maybe you're losing body fat or body weight too quickly. Because if you're losing body weight too quickly, there's a good chance you're losing lean body mass at the same time. And you want to minimize that. So those weight losses should be incremental. They have to be incremental, and they can fluctuate a little bit up, a little bit down. Here's, the graph, in reality is going to go like this. It's going to go like that. It's not going to go, like this. It just does not. Okay? That's not reality. Okay? So keep in mind, use it as a tool, but don't make it the be all and end all, and don't make it the final telltale of whether you've achieved your goal or not. Okay? Let's move right along. It says, do I need a personal trainer? And if so, how much should I expect to pay for one? Okay. This is a very touchy subject because I'm in the business of being a personal trainer. I'm going to tell you, when I started, I've never had a trainer in my whole life. But when I first started training, which was back in the 70s, there weren't personal trainers. I mean, people had coaches for things like baseball and hockey and things like that, or even Olympic lifting. So people didn't have coaches for bodybuilding. You know who their coaches were? Their coaches were their training partners, other people at the gym, that type of thing. They weren't people that they paid hard-earned money to, or that were supposed to be more knowledgeable than them, were supposed to help them achieve their goals. But what do we have now? We have 95% of the population of trainers are totally worthless. Yeah, that's going to get me a lot of flack, but that's okay, because I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to give answers to people and give them a dose of reality. 95% or more, of people you're going to run into should not ever be training anybody. And that's a fact. They should not be training anybody. Getting a certificate over the internet doesn't make you a pro. Okay? And this is a profession. If you're going to claim to be, better at something than the people you train, more knowledgeable, you better have the experience to back it up. You better have the knowledge, and knowledge doesn't come in a book that you study. Knowledge comes from hitting it, from being there, being around it for years and years. I'm going to tell somebody that if you're looking to have a trainer, should you get a trainer? It depends on your personality. I think everybody can benefit from having a trainer to some degree at the beginning. Some people will continue to do better if they have a trainer and they keep them around. Some people only need them occasionally. Some people will not need them at all. It depends on your personality. If you're the type of person that likes to get a hold of something, and then, you want to know everything about it. You're like a dog on a bone. You don't let go of it. Chances are, if you're coming in raw and you don't know where to start, you get a trainer, you start there, and then you do some studying on your own. You start to learn who's talking about garbage. And in Facebook groups in particular, there's tons of people that don't know anything. Some of them are well-meaning. Others are they just don't know anything, okay? And just stay away from that, because it's going to lead you down the wrong path, which will lead you to frustration. It will lead you to not achieving your goals, which will lead you to probably quitting. Okay, so do it right. Now, how much are you going to pay? Well, let me put it this way. That's going to depend on a lot. Depends on what it is you're trying to achieve. If you're just trying to achieve some general fitness, there's different types of trainers out there. I don't generally teach what I would say general fitness. I teach bodybuilding, fitness, body shaping, weight loss, weight gain. And yes, fitness ties into all that. But, I guess I'm more referring to the people that teach people on rubber bands and balls and stuff like that. That's all good to just keep active and to exercise. And yeah, you can work up a great sweat. Some people can. I don't personally consider that training myself. I consider calisthenics more training than that, but that's my opinion, okay? When it comes to actually creating hypertrophy, okay, if you're not doing that takes skill. That takes lots of experience, okay? And that only comes with time. So to me, if you haven't got somebody with a minimum of 8 or 10 years behind them, 8 or 10 years of dedicated training where they've achieved things themselves, they know their stuff, and you'll be able to tell if they know their stuff, but you have to be able to ask the right questions. You need to ask questions and see how people answer. Or, if you've brought somebody on as a trainer, and you're hitting plateaus like right away and they don't know how to get you past them, these people, they don't know enough, because that's what a trainer is. A trainer knows how to get things going, how to keep things going, how to deal with, some certain plateaus at certain times. How much you're going to pay is also going to depend on where you're from. Let's face it. If you were in, let's say, downtown New York, you're going to pay a small fortune to have a trainer. That's just the way it is. Or Los Angeles. You go out to a place like where I am, you're still going to pay quite a bit, but you're not going to pay for as much as if you're in the middle of, smaller towns or smaller cities in the US or Canada. And that's another factor. Keep in mind, okay, that if you're paying somebody 25 or 40 bucks an hour, I would just leave those individuals. Anybody that's training you for 25 or 40 bucks an hour, that's not a trainer. You're not going to get a good quality trainer for 25 and $40. You're just not. You either have somebody who totally undervalues themselves, or they just don't have the credentials, and the credentials aren't in a certificate from the internet. Okay? I can tell you right now, if you're buying on a single session basis, you're always going to do better buying, monthly or multi-monthly packages, because the amount will go down, because anytime you can secure places on long term, people are always going to, it's going to benefit you. It's going to benefit your trainer. I do that with people. If you enlist in my services on a single basis, you're going to pay upwards around $100 an hour. Somebody out there is going to say $100 an hour. Let me put this in perspective to some people who haven't gone out and looked for expertise in other areas. I thought I was going to take some dancing lessons. Just something I want to do just for fun. Ballroom style dancing, that type of thing. I checked into some places, and not a word of a lie, they were asking $75 for a half-hour session, and that's in a group. $75 an hour to learn how to dance in a group, not one-on-one, okay, and to dance. They're not talking about something that's going to benefit your whole life or create a great physique. None of that. This was fun. So, $75 for a half hour of that, or $100 for a solid hour of one-on-one personalized training for somebody who has, 4 decades worth of experience. You weigh it out. Of course, it gets better, if you choose a month, or you choose a multi-session package, or you choose multi-month, okay? That's just rough guidelines to use. So the bottom line is, do you absolutely need a trainer? Not really. Should you get one? You're going to have to answer that for yourself. If you're a really self-developing individual, then you can probably, make your way around. It might take you time, okay? But you can probably make it. For the rest of the people, which I think are actually the majority, you're going to benefit from having a trainer either intermittently or at the beginning for a while, one or the other. Okay. So let's go into another question here. Okay. Can I effectively train at home if I want to be a competitive fitness athlete? Can you? Well, the simple answer to that is yes. Should you, or what are you going to need? That's a little bit more complicated. Once again, this is partly a personality thing. If you're self-motivated, like I am, I personally don't need a commercial gym. I don't. Long ago, I prefer I'm a bit reclusive when it comes to training. I don't want to have partners. I'm a very cerebral style trainer. So I don't need to be around people or that aura. I don't need that aura. I create my own aura. I put in my headset. My mindset is where it needs to be. I get the job done and I'm gone. Okay? I can know for a fact, I can tell you that I trained and competed and won in shows in gyms that you wouldn't even recognize as a gym. I talked about this before, and I talked about, dealing with gyms where you actually had to fabricate your equipment as you got along, or there was only one pulley machine and it kept breaking down, or you had to put benches together, or squats was a couple of simple stick stands on cement bases. That's what I trained on. Mostly that for my first 3 to 4 years. And I finally got into a half-decent gym, which still wasn't anything compared to what I've been able to train in since, okay? And competed. So obviously, yes, you can. You can be a competitive athlete on the minimum. And can you train at home and do that? Of course you can. The more budget you have, the better. That just makes common sense. But do you need a whole lot of fancy stuff? No, you don't. Most bodybuilding can be done on very simple amount of equipment. For most things other than legs, you really don't even need any machines. A good power rack with a squat setup with it, that'll take you a lot of places. A nice variable degree bench, so flat bench, incline combination, okay? And, you know, obviously a decent Olympic set and even a multi-adjustable set of dumbbells. You could do some amazing things with that, okay? The only limitation, I think, is when it comes to legs, because, you know, it's very hard to work that type of, you know, that muscle, you know, unless you have a good leg extension or leg curl machine. Yep, you can squat in your power rack. That's going to do wonders for you. It is. But for full all-round leg development, you know, you want to work calves. Yeah, you can do some things in the power rack as well. It's not completely ideal. So if you have the ability, even if it's rudimentary, you know, be able to get some type of a multi-gym where they have a leg extension, leg curl attachment, a good one, because there's tons of garbage out there, okay? Anyways, if you had that, you could train there forever, never go into a commercial gym. Think of all the money you'd save. It's a wonderful way to train. And think of all the time and money. I mean, you think of how much time you utilize, depending, especially if you're around a big city, the time you spend driving to, going home, five, some people anywhere from 3, 4 to 6 days a week. You know, that time could be just quality time where you literally just roll out of bed, have a coffee, hit it, train, go to work, do whatever. I mean, the ideal way to go. But some people need to have that atmosphere. Some people are not self-motivated. You know, therefore, you need to be around people. You need to be around that atmosphere. You know, you need be around that high energy, especially if you're not necessarily a bodybuilding individual or a fitness competitor. Maybe you're more into, you know, circuit training with a bunch of people, you know, or boot camp style training. You like that. Well, you know, then you're going to need to go to a public gym. Public gym of some sort anyways. That's all. Let's see. We may have time for one more question. We got so many more today, but we're not going to get into those. Okay. Let's finish it off with this one. How often should I train? And then there's an optimal amount of sets, reps, and exercises to do per body part. Okay. I've gone on record many, many times as saying that I train HIIT style. H-I-T, not H-I-I-T. Okay? This is progressive resistance. It's maximizing sets, maximizing reps, minimizing time, maximizing recuperation. How do you do that? Basically, I do one working set per exercise. I generally only do 3 exercises on a body part, and I train it over once every 7 days to 8 days. That's what I do. So right now I'm training Monday, Wednesday, Friday. That's all I do, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and that workout takes approximately less than 40 minutes. 3 times a week, and my strength keeps going up. Right now I'm getting myself into better conditions, so I'm restricting my calories to a certain degree, but I'm still making gains. You know, believe it, you can make gains even in negative calorie balance, okay? But what is the optimal? So I'm always thinking in terms of optimal, and I'm always thinking in terms of a natural athlete. So to me, if you can't train HIIT style, because HIIT style does require some things. It requires a mental approach above and beyond what you're ever going to experience. Taking yourself to the pain zone and beyond on every set that you do takes a certain type of mentality. It does. And not everybody's cut out for that. But if you ask me what is the optimal way to train, that is it. Second to that, you know, I have another style which I use at many different periods, depending. I mean, even for myself, maybe I go through a period where I'm not going to be able to give it everything that I want to give it in HIIT style. So I worked a system where I'm working a couple of sets per exercise, but I'm still only doing about 3, you know, and I'll do a warm up on the first one. But I shorten my rest period, and I have my rep range. And to me, if you're a bodybuilder and you're talking anything less than 6, but you're talking anything more than 10, one end you're talking too much powerlifting, and the other end you're just getting into too high repetitions, and you're not going to benefit yourself for optimal size and development. Okay. So that's a rep range, and, you know, break it down into 6 to 8, 8 to 10. As an example, let's say I was doing alternate dumbbell curls. And let's say my goal was 8, okay? So I know that if I'm working with a weight and I'm getting less than 6, I'm too heavy. If I'm getting, how I do it is that, let's say I get 8 and I'm working, but I'm not finished. You know, I like, when I finish 8, because that's my goal range, I stop, but there's still a little bit more there. Well, then when I go to my second set, I'll take that right to the end, but I won't do negatives. I won't do, I won't do forced repetitions. That's the difference when you take that at a hit, okay? So therefore, I am getting, I'm taking myself close to there, but it's a little easier mentally to do. And to me, that's the optimal way to train if you don't want to do hit. Then there's a circuit style training, which I also teach to people, okay? Those are 3 ways, but any of these other systems that preach, you take a muscle group and you train it one way on the week, and then the second time in the week, you train it a completely different way, or you have to do, these 7 sets and pyramid all your weight. That's a bunch of BS. It really is. You're wasting all these sets working up to something that, you could have accomplished in 2. You got to keep in mind, every set that you do over what is needed to make growth, and you just have to create a stimulus, right? Any repetition or any set you do after that, you're taking away from recuperative time. And whether you know it or not, that pumping you get in the gym means nothing. It's a mental ego boost. It's a wonderful feeling, but it means nothing when it comes to growth. Your growth happens as soon as you leave the gym. Go grab some food, get some rest. The cycle continues. All right, we're hitting the half hour here. We didn't get through all that many questions, which is good. That means we got a lot more to tackle on the next one. Anyways, what do I want to say before we sign off here? I am still and always constantly looking for people for the Spotlight Show. So if you are somebody, or if I've contacted you, please get a hold of me and let's do a Spotlight Show on you. You've made some great changes. You've altered your life, for the better through training, and you want to inspire others. That's what that show is all about. It's about helping others while giving yourself some recognition. It's a great trade-off. It's a wonderful feeling. I haven't had anybody do the show that didn't enjoy doing the show. Okay, it's very laid back. You do it from your own home. All you need is a PC and a set of headphones, cheap stuff. And we do the interview. Very laid back. Okay. That said, also the gym is on its way. I hope things that are really getting to the point where we can start broadcasting throughout the gym here. As I mentioned before, my progress has come along great. My 2 books, still working on those, and as well as setting up for webinar seminars. Seminars might be a little bit, they might be a bit of an issue because due to the crowd restrictions still. But anyways, we'll be talking about that in future episodes. Friday, I'll be back on again. May tackle the bonehead move that I did on Monday. For those of you that didn't catch my post, I accidentally did a whole show. I forgot to do a sound check. Turned out I didn't have any sound, and the whole thing was done in mime, which wasn't very good. That won't happen anymore. So maybe we'll really do that show on Friday. I'll let you know tomorrow or early Friday. For now, please visit me on my website, bullfishtraining.com. I talk about all my services that I offer there. Keep in mind, I have 4 decades worth of training and being a trainer, a competitive bodybuilder. I have a degree in lab medicine to back up what I know. Okay, I only train natural athletes. So if you contact me and you want to be using PEDs of any sort, I don't mean things like creatine and stuff like that. I mean, actually using SARMs or steroids or anything like, or cutting agents. I don't deal with people that do that. So you have to be a natural athlete to work with me. Okay. Always looking for other clients, whether it be internet based or in person. I can definitely help you out. My credentials are second to none. What else? I think that's about it. Anyways, it's been wonderful. I love doing these Q&A shows. I hope I answered a number of questions for people. Feel free, to ask all the questions you want, whether it be on my Facebook page, which is Bullfierce Training, okay, or my website, or you can also get a hold of me Instagram and Twitter as well. So, my name is Perry Larrabee. This is the way it is naturally. Get out there, take care of yourself, stay safe. Praise be to God. Take care, train hard, train bull fierce. And that will wrap up tonight's show. Bye for now.